Right now at 6, gunfire erupting at a graduation party. A corrections officer among the 3 people killed. At least half a dozen others driving themselves to the emergency room. Detectives combing multiple crime scenes for clues. We have live team coverage on this deadly mass shooting.
Authorities also working to solve a murder mystery. A man found shot dead in his car. The key piece of evidence, though, now in DSO custody.
And the weekend may have been void of the typical June rains, but it wasn't void of the heat. Of course, we're not that lucky. What's in store for your week ahead? It's coming up in your forecast.
Good evening, South Florida. I'm Andrew Perez in for Laren.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Stanella Sabovic. Your Local 10 News at 6 starts right now.
Live, the one and only Local 10 News starts right now.
Off the top at 6, another weekend of gun violence in South Florida. Bullets flying at a graduation party in Kendall, killing 3 people and injuring at least 6 others. Among the dead, a corrections officer.
Jackson and Memorial South, one of several hospitals where wounded partygoers started showing up overnight. The tragedy coming exactly, though, 1 week after that deadly ambush on the north end of the county. We have live team coverage of this latest deadly mass shooting. Terrell Fournay is standing by live at JMH.
But first, Local 10's Leanne Morejon leads us off from the scene. Leanne.
Just such a shame to be talking about yet another mass shooting just a week after the last one. If I step out of the way, you can see where the shooting took place. You see that strip mall there behind the gas station? That is where the gunfire erupted. And if we pan over to the left, you can see that right across from the gas station, you have the campus of Miami-Dade College. Now, all of these locations are important because while the gunfire erupted over at the strip mall, one of the cars on scene then fled and crashed on the campus of Miami-Dade College. As you can see, Miami-Dade police so many hours later are still investigating. A graduation party takes a chaotic and deadly turn overnight in southwest Miami-Dade.
Unfortunately, we had another terrible act of gun violence that affected our community.
According to Miami-Dade police, 2 cars pulled up outside the Hookah Inn near the intersection of Southwest 104th Street and 109th Court just before 2:30 a.m. Sunday. Bullets started flying as a group of people were standing right outside. Several people were hit.
This is extremely frustrating. Every weekend it's the same thing.
2 men fleeing the shooting ended up crashing into a wall across the street at Miami-Dade College's Kendall campus and were pronounced dead on the scene.
They're advising a driver and passenger unconscious at the bus stop inside the college.
Police say a gun was located inside the car, though it's unclear what role, if any, that firearm played in the shooting. 5 others were injured, some of whom drove themselves to the hospital or were transported by friends or relatives. A woman who ended up at Jackson South died at the hospital.
It's with a heavy heart to say that that victim is from where we're being told, is a Florida corrections officer.
Detectives remained on scene for hours, blocking off a large portion of Southwest 104th Street and other surrounding roadways as the on-site investigation continued.
It just goes to show you the magnitude of this gun violence issue doesn't just affect community members, it affects the law enforcement community. We all have to band together. This violence has to stop.
Back out live as investigators continue to comb through the scene. The Miami-Dade Police Director says that there is something you can do to help this out, and that is that if you have any information, please go ahead and contact Miami-Dade Police. In fact, they say that they are searching for a dark, possible Chevrolet Malibu and a white Toyota Camry. They believe that those vehicles were in some way, involved in all of this. Anyone with information should go ahead and call Miami-Dade Police or Miami-Dade Crime Stoppers at 305-471-TIPS. We're live in Southwest Miami-Dade. I'm Leanne Morejon, Local 10 News.
And as the search for the shooters continues, relatives are anxiously awaiting to find out how their loved ones are doing.
One family receiving devastating news during a live press conference on air. Local 10's Terrell Fournay picks up that part of our team coverage. Terrell.
It was quite the scene here at Jackson South Hospital. In fact, the ER was turned into a crime scene for a very short period of time because so many of those shooting victims were arriving by car. The white car, surrounded by crime scene tape with blood staining the side, rolled into the emergency room minutes after the mass shooting. Some victims drove themselves to the hospital after being shot, but nurses and doctors could not save Tylisha Taylor, who worked at the Dade Correctional Institution in Homestead as a corrections officer. Today, the secretary of that agency released a statement saying, in part, "We are devastated to learn a member of our Florida Department of Corrections family, Officer Taylor, was killed in a fatal shooting. Our prayers are with her family as they navigate this unimaginable loss. Taylor was off duty attending the graduation party at the Hookah Lounge in Kendall, where she was hit by bullets. The family of William Everett also showed up to the crime scene, fearing the worst.
He's just a humble, sweet kid, always have been. It's like that's my baby, That's my baby.
Later in the day, a different relative confirming to Local 10 Everett, a father of a 3-year-old boy, was fatally struck inside of the bullet-riddled car that crashed. Also killed his 18-year-old cousin, say relatives, who goes by the name Keen. Emotions were high outside of the Ryder Trauma Center at Jackson South Hospital, where family members gathered for updates from doctors about the injured. Our cameras were rolling as one of the 5 injured shooting victims was released from the hospital with what is said to be minor injuries. This latest mass shooting underscores a growing problem of gun violence being felt across South Florida.
Without a question, gun violence is up. This is not about a district thing or a county thing. This is an entire country problem that we're starting to see raise its ugly head.
And Commissioner McGee does not represent the district where the shooting occurred, but he is part of the team tasked with coming up with solutions to help curb this growing problem of gun violence. As for the shooting survivors who were rushed here to the hospital, we do not yet know all of their conditions. So stay tuned. Reporting live from Southwest Miami-Dade, I'm Terrell Fornay, Local 10 News.
Thank you, Terrell. And you can count on Local 10 for continuing coverage of this deadly mass shooting. We'll have any updates throughout the day on air and online at local10.com.
Also developing at this hour, an investigation underway into another